first pattern I'm going to paint here is squares. This is a large flat brush. This is a 3/4 from Princeton Velvet Touch. A large flat brush is the best option to start on when you are beginning watercolor with wrist strength issues, because it's not going to allow you to do lots of little detail movements with your wrist that could hurt your wrist, like a small round brush would. Ooh. Oh, that's quite fun. So I'm just having a bit of water on the brush and then picking up a color and letting the squares bump into each other and seeing what happens. This is a really fun way to learn about what your paints will do. Next is, this is a circle. And I'm not going to switch to a small round brush because the wrist action of making a circle with a round brush will hurt my wrist. But using the corner here of the flat brush and moving my whole arm instead of moving my wrist will work really well for making circles. They're close to circles. Okay, so let's try zigzag thing, because a flat brush makes a line shape really well. This can give you some good practice on what does this brush do. All of these will be really good for helping you learn what does my brush do. So not only will you be learning this paint, is like this purple one over here on the left that did that whoosh thing and pushed into the blue, the squares over there. That one is a pushy color, so you'll learn that. You'll learn how the color works on the paper. And I'm going to do some lifting here because this created a little bit of a mess. So I cleaned off my brush. I'm using the bottom corner of the brush and just going back and forth from the paint I'm trying to lift and to the cloth, and then cleaning my brush. Let's do some lines. I remember forever ago I saw some kind of a thing that was like paint dripping down the page, and it went from one to the other. So that could be fun. You will notice that it turned green by the time I got to the end. So you learn things like that by doing these kinds of things. You can see if you run the yellow on your brush up next to the blue, it will pick up some of the blue onto your brush, and by the time you get to the bottom, you'll actually be painting with green. So you could use that to your advantage. You will notice I am rotating the brush in my fingers to make this happen. I'm not moving my wrist. Rotate in the fingers. This is really helpful just so you can have a chance to see how I use my wrist and get some ideas for how you could do this. Even if you don't have wrist strength issues, patterns are a really good thing to practice. They will give you such skill and control with the brush that you don't even know that you're learning. I have swatched out so many different combinations of colors and palettes that I've moved the paints around and then swatched the palette out again and again. And it turns out what I was doing was painting a squares pattern, and my squares never used to have even edges and they never used to be the same size. And now that didn't take that much work, and they all look like the same size squares. Circles, yeah, they're circles. They require more work, but they can be harder on your wrist. Circles are really the hardest thing to do unless you want them to look like these like more watercolory blobby edges on them. Then you can just pretend you meant it to look like that. I'm going to add another row because I have not gone all the way through the colors yet. This one, I am using the swatching your palette out technique, which is to go from the yellow to the oranges and reds to purple to blue to green. It's kind of working through the color wheel. You can also do the same pattern but only use yellows and blues. That is always fun too. The other fun thing about patterns can be if you've put together a color palette that you want to paint with and you want to see how is this going to look on paper. You will get a chance to practice the pattern, but you also get a chance to see how your color palette works on a piece of paper. I'm going to do a little bit more lifting here to clean that up. Let's move this up a little bit. I'm going to add something that I saw early on in painting. I didn't know how you did it. I'm going to wet the page And then I'm just going to use the 3 primary colors. These are yellow, and I'm going to use a pink and like a turquoise because I like that. That's the like cyan, magenta, yellow combination. You could also do this with red, yellow, and blue. So either of those, whatever red or pink you want to use. You can do this with all of your different colors to get a chance to see what different colors it makes here in the middle. We're just going to mix that on paper. I think I had a little too much pink, so I'm going to go back in with some yellow. And we're going to get it so that it goes from yellow to orange to pink to purple to blue to green. But we're going to make the colors that come in between just by painting with the yellow and the pink and the blue, our primary colors. Now I just need to add some yellow to the other end to complete the loop all the way back around to the yellow. This turned out really fun. Hopefully you will give this a try yourself. Have fun putting some paint on paper. Thank you so much for watching, hanging out with me. I will see you in the next video.